when I look at the numbers this year compared to last year, it's really similar to what we were seeing this time last year. Was last year an insane market? No. I mean, it had that bump in the beginning and then it leveled out a little bit. It's just what I'm seeing is the seasonality is in full force. So we get our price increases and the bidding wars because prices dip. Okay, so we're going off the low prices of the year right now. The December prices are the lowest of the year.
Yep.
The highest are around May, June in our area. So we're down from that. And now we're going to go back up to wherever that was. And maybe it'll go a little bit higher than it was last year. Maybe it won't.
Oh my God. Are bidding wars really back? Are we back to that nonsense? Well, we're going to talk to somebody that's in the business, a top 1% agent in King County, aka Seattle. So this is her market. Maybe it's not yours, but Beth, are bidding wars back?
Yes, Mike, I am here to say that bidding wars are back. And so I have one closing today that we're not supposed to share much, but since it's closing today, I will, that it's going to close for 15% over list price. And another one that's about 10%, going 10% over list price. And we had a buyer recently be outbid on a fixer house in Seattle that had, I think, 12 offers on it, and it went maybe 20% over list price. So yes, it's happening. And I know I shake my head too, because that doesn't really compute. Like, why? Interest rates so high, affordability bad. What's going, the stock market's been uncertain. What's going on? Why?
Yeah. So let's talk about King County, because again, we're going to be very specific. This is your experience, your area. It may not be the rest of the country, but I would argue that Seattle leads the country. And what do I mean by that? As you've told us for years, this is not new information. Your spring selling season starts in January.
Now we're right. Yeah. Well, we're February now, but yeah. So yes, it's already been ramping up and we're in the thick of it right now. Maybe a little earlier than other parts of the country.
Exactly. So this is coming to other areas potentially. So one of the things we've seen in King County, you've brought us the numbers before, is inventory is up, sure, but not a lot. We're not talking back to 2019 levels. We're talking up from crazy low levels. That's kind of step one.
Yeah. Yeah. So still incredibly low inventory. So I just took a look right before we jumped on our call in my little sub-market of East King County. I looked, if I were a buyer looking to purchase for under $1 million, not a condo, 2 options on the market right now. And they've both been on the market for a while. So those are the couple of stale ones, which actually that's where the opportunity lies, is in those ones.
Yep.
But everything else gone. So like 3 maybe come up in a week and then they're gone. So the number of sales are still kind of anemic, just because of the inventory being as low as it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I think's happening. And again, this might be very specific to King County, because I think you do have some interesting things. I think the first thing is national.
Yeah.
And I heard this from, oh man, I'm going to forget her name. She's in Austin. Danielle in Austin. She's a great agent in in Austin. She was like, Michael, buyers are not scared of 7% anymore.
No.
Right. There was a time when rates were going up that everybody remembered 4, or they remembered 5, or they remembered 6. Now her buyers, and likely yours, think 8 is possible. So 7 is good.
They weren't looking back then. These are a whole different group of buyers.
Different group of buyers. Also, these buyers now have probably lost out before, and they're like, no, we're not gonna miss this time. We've had enough life events. We've had a baby, or whatever is going on. So they're serious, right? That's the only reason you go 10, 15. We're talking 20% over list price, folks. This is bananas. Yeah.
So some people are really tired of the bunk beds, like we've been talking about, and they're going crazy and they just got to move. But still, it seems like the majority of them are people that either there's a few different profiles, if you will. So the person who sold their home has a ton of equity. They're putting that $600,000 down or whatever on the new house, and it's more tolerable to carry that payment. Or the people who are moving, they've moved here from somewhere else and they don't want to rent for whatever. Renting has its issues too, you know, so they want to put down roots and buy a house. And then there's the people who are, most of the people who are, it's more of a people who are selling right now is the people who are retiring and moving to another area. That's been going on.
That's all the inventory you have.
I know. The retirees relocating, downsizing elsewhere, because for a lot of people, that's their retirement nest egg.
Yep.
Is this equity in their house. They may have other, but that's the big one. And so they're taking that. The thing is, it's getting expensive where people are buying too. So some of these other areas where they're relocating to are not necessarily a big step down in cost, but to a certain extent they are. And so they're moving away, selling their house, and then they're taking that equity over there. But and we are still seeing some first-time buyers, but not nearly as many as I would like to see. But they tend to be too high income earners who are using their stock a lot of the time. And there's all sorts of concerns about what's going to happen with the stock market. Who knows? I'm not a stock person.
Well, that's the other thing that I think is probably very unique to Seattle and the Bay Area. I've talked to Bay Area agents all the time as well. And I actually think the stock market having recent gyrations, like the deep sea freak out from last week, or the terror freak out from this weekend, I actually think is causing some stock heavy employees to sell, get that money, and then they're going to put that in a different asset. So I expect some of these buyers are cashing out of the stock market, their RSUs, restricted stock units, and they're buying homes because they're like, hey, NVIDIA went down 17% in a day. That doesn't happen to houses. Houses don't collapse 17% in a day. No. So I do think you're getting some tailwind from buyers exiting stocks. That's my guess.
Yeah. And to go back to your point about some of these buyers have been kicked around for a while. Like, for example, I won't give any specifics about the house, but there was a listing of mine that went under contract that was competitive. And the buyers were actually repeats. I'd seen them on other listings. Yeah. And the agent this time, she's like, okay, we're back. And they're not messing around anymore. They're just like, what's it going to take? We finally have accepted what it's going to take. And so here's our offer. And it was phenomenal. No contingencies, a large earnest money release, non-refundable.
Oh my God, we're doing that again?
Price. Yes, that's the first time I've seen that in my area yet this year, the released earnest money.
That's not normal.
No, it isn't. And it's not healthy. And I never ask people to do that. That's just what they decided to do on their own because they've been clobbered so many times. They just want a house and they just got to the point where they're just like, we don't care anymore.
Was it a six-figure earnest money?
No, but it was close.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not, I mean, back in the frothy days of 2021 or so, I did see some six figures released to, I think the highest I saw was maybe 200,000 or something like that. Really, we're talking not just goes to escrow, but it goes to the seller's bank account before closing.
Yeah, you take all. What that means, folks, is they are taking all the risk. That's before inspections. That's before this.
Yeah, people aren't having inspections anymore, you know, even if it's not competitive. So our MLS starts tracking this now. It started about maybe 6 months ago, tracking and pendings. When you put the pending listing in, it asks, was there an inspection contingency? Was there a financing contingency, et cetera? And so I just looked today, and like the most recent one, there's only 37% in King County have an inspection contingency.
Oh my God. 1 in 3 means 2
have it.
Don't.
2 out of 3 don't. And here's the thing is a lot of times sellers are doing their own pre-inspection. And buyers like it when sellers do their own pre-inspection. Is there reasons why buyers would want to do their own? Of course.
Yeah, of course.
And maybe they should, you know, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't. We never tell anybody they can't, but but if it gets competitive, like for example, our people that lost out in a house on that fixer house in Seattle, they had just paid $500 to have an inspector go out there and inspect the place. And there was 4 other inspections happening at the same time. And, you know, only one person gets to buy the house. And it doesn't take long for a buyer to get tired of that because they just wasted that money.
Yeah.
So, because they would never get an offer accepted with an inspection contingency if you're up against 15 offers or something like that. So that's why that came about with the seller pre-inspection. And that's really prevalent in the Seattle area. And I know in other parts of the country, you just won't see that at all. It's just one of those intricacies here. But when I'm working with sellers, we always pre-inspect the house, and people can do with that as they will. They can verify whatever they want, but a lot of times they just choose not to, and that's their choice. But and I'd rather have that. At least a lot of buyers feel at least reassured that some professional looked at the house, even if it wasn't of their choosing, than to have just go in there completely blind. So
yeah, it is pretty wild. I got to tell you, Beth, this does not leave me warm and fuzzy. This does not feel good talking about bidding wars coming back to King County.
No, I honestly prefer a more balanced market. And I think if we get some more inventory, we will get there. So
where's it going to come from? Where's it coming from?
I think there's people out there preparing their house to go on the market this spring, and we just haven't seen those hit the market yet. So I just know what I'm working on in my pipeline. I've got a pretty healthy pipeline getting ready to come on the next
good. So
maybe
there's hope.
Yeah. So I think we're riding that crest of the inventory. And when I look at the numbers this year compared to last year, it's really similar to what we were seeing this time last year. Was last year an insane market? No. I mean, it had that bump in the beginning, and then it leveled out a little bit. It's just what I'm seeing is the seasonality is in full force. So we get our price increases and the bidding wars because prices dip. Okay, so we're going off the low prices of the year right now. The December prices are the lowest of the year.
Yep.
The highest are around May, June in our area. So we're down from that. And now we're going to go back up to wherever that was. And maybe it'll go a little bit higher than it was last year. Maybe it won't. But that's what we're seeing is the bidding wars drive the price up. And then there's always a weekend. I coach my clients that I see this after 27 years. That there's like always a weekend where it feels like somebody flipped the switch. And all the brokers are like, what happened? Is the market died? What? The bottom fell out. Oh, my God. No, it happened. It's the seasonality flip of the switch. It usually happens here sometime between Easter and Mother's Day.
Exactly.
So maybe earlier in some other parts of the country. But that's when we see it. And that's when it starts to maybe you don't get offers on the review day and you just carry on and you'll sell for close to list price, a little over, a little under. But, it's not the end of the world. So, but people get kind of
jumpy.
You got to be careful not to set your expectations if you're going to be in this market. And the other thing I would say for the buyers looking is, even though there's only 2 listings under $1 million in my submarket right now, that's where the opportunities are. I'm going to go back to that and say that if you check in those ones have both been on the market for a while. I mean, there's always reasons why. One, I think, was a little overpriced. One has a little bit of a location issue or something, but there's things maybe you can find a gem in there, because it's either hot or not. If it's not going to get multiple offers in that first week, then it just goes game on.
Yeah. Again, I would know the average days on market. And if you got 2 or 3x days on market, you would be getting a disrespectful offer from me. Because again, you just never know. Sometimes they got to sell. Never judge, never pre-negotiate with a seller. Write a number that makes sense for you and let's see where it goes.
Put it out there, and don't be afraid to do it. And there will be more inventory coming. And if I was a buyer right now, it might be, everyone's situation is different, but it could be worthwhile to just wait a month, let some more inventory come on, spread that demand out a little bit. Because if people have one house to choose from a week, everyone's going to jump on that one house, and that house is going to be gone and it's going to go crazy. But if there's 5, it spreads it out a little bit and you'll get some opportunities. And then also just networking to find things off market is still the way to go too.
Amen. No, absolutely. Well, this is going to be fun to watch because, again, of all the people I speak with, your spring selling season starts the earliest and finishes the earliest. I got to tell you, I was not enjoying the fact that bidding wars are back, the fact that you had a non-refundable earnest money release. These are signs of a very hot market. And that is very wild. If somebody wanted to buy or sell, or better yet, get a referral to a top 1% agent in their market, Beth, how do they do that?
Yeah, I love connecting with people from the One Rental at a Time community. I can be found at bethtraversogroup.com, or I'm out there on social media too. You can find me, and I'm in the school community as well if people are in there.
Beth, you're amazing. Take care.
Thank you.